This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Okay, you guys, welcome back. We are here with Unchained, Unpolished podcast episode dos. We're so excited too. Like, we got the one done. The one's like the hardest because you just got to do it scared.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we're back. Like a bad habit, we are back. And we're really a good habit because we're here to break chains and to hopefully plant seeds of hope into every woman who listens to this podcast. Seriously, I hope you grab your bestie or your tribe, because I'm sitting here with my tribe and kind of my accountability group, and we are going to hash everything out. And so if you're new, welcome to the Couch Conversations, Unchained, Unpolished. We are here literally sharing on 3 words. This is like what God gave me. It is encounter, identity, and community. And so today we're going to share a little bit on encounter. So I was thinking about this before we recorded the first one, and the encounter for me was like, hey, I knew of Jesus. I had great family who took me to church. They taught me all the Sunday school lessons, all the things, all the vacation Bible school, like all the things. And I knew Jesus, and I had knowledge of him like in my head. And I would even say that I loved him, but there came this place, right? In the intro, I kind of hinted to it, but there came this place where there was like this hole in my soul, and I used everything the world had or solutions that the world had. I could be skinnier, I could be prettier, I could work out more, I could play this sport, I could do this, if I could just be a mom like that, if I could just look like her, like all the things. And I'm an 80s girl, so I can remember praying to God about looking like the girl on the White Snake videos.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, because then I would arrive.
That's right.
And I'm so not. I don't even know her name or what she looks like now. I may look that up later when I leave here just to see, like,
Me too.
Yeah.
what does she look like now?
Actually,
How's that working for you, sister? Okay.
You keep talking.
Yeah. But so had this encounter kind of in 30 years ago, changed my life. Came into a place, I walked into the doors of a 12-step program, broken, didn't know what honesty was, anything else. I just knew I needed the pain to stop. I had no friends. I'd ran everybody off. Honestly, I had no one to blame but myself for the emptiness that I had inside of me is what I'm trying to get at. Yep. But in 2008, like that was in 1993, in 2008, I had, there was this thing. My husband and I had been going to church. We went to this thing. It was like a missions dinner at a church house. And I don't think to this day we both really know why we were there, but we had heard about these people coming to this church, these little missionaries from this place called Chincha, Peru. And we were like, I mean, we could go to that dinner. We could go hear what these people are about. While they're here in Texas, there's this massive earthquake. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if it was a 7.8 or 8.7, but massive, like, destruction. That's and this is like, I know it's hard for some young people. This is for smartphones. This is like you had the bag phone, maybe the Nokia, like, punch it in pad that there wasn't texting. You just called people. I think there was texting, but it took a minute to figure that out. It was a long thing. Hey, you skipped it. Shoot! You got to go all the way back.
Got to go all the way back to the third or fourth one.
It's like before the remotes on the TV, because we grew up with that, like with the full and the antenna and the ow, shoot! Got to bring it all back around again. Dang it! Okay, so yeah, that, and dial it in on your antenna. You got the channel, and then you got to go to the antenna knob. Okay, so I'm that old. Anyway, but they flew back. They left. Like, they were like, we got to go. We got to go home, our people. And we didn't understand all of it, but I remember a pastor at the church we were attending at the time, and he was like, hey, we're gonna take this this team, we're going to get a team of people from Waco. We're going to go to this town called Chincha, Peru, and we're going to go help these people because he'd been doing kind of life with them and taking teams. And I didn't even have a passport. Like, I think I've been out of Texas maybe twice before this happened. Anyway, so I kind of look at that pastor and I'm like, I'll get you a dental team, and so I went around town. I'm a dental hygienist. I went around town. Every dental office I left with supplies or money and a very nice thank you. No dentist. And I'm like, what the crud is going on here? I'm going to get a dentist because I'm a fundraiser. I'm a PTO mom. I can do it. And so I kept on. Anyway, the long and the short of that, the last guy I stop at, he says, come back at 5:30 when the office is closed. I go back. I'm so excited. I'm like, got the fish on the hook. I'm going to reel him on in, get him in the boat. So I show up. We eat. And I'm like, wow, it's dinner, pizza. I mean, it was, anyway, doesn't matter what kind of pizza, but pizza. And the long and short of it, he jumps up in a chair and he's like, hey, so I know that you know the anatomy of the mouth. I want you to know me here, here, here. I'm like, what is going on? He was training me, little old me. I knew I had a passport and he had all these instruments. He gave me this little notebook. He was like, you're going to write down how to do all these things because this is what these people are going to need. And you're going to go and you're going to be the dentist on this trip. So I not only had supplies, but I had knowledge, and I had a stenographer's notebook with step 1, anesthetize the patient. Here's how. Yes. And I remember leaving there thinking, okay, right? And the encounter wasn't like this. I'm not belittling anything in the Bible or anything, but I've heard people say like, and then God said, this booming voice came down and the Lord, thus saith the Lord. Yeah. And I was just driving home going, okay, I'm going to get a passport. It was all just kind of surreal. Yeah. And I think back to that and I'm like, I ended up going to my husband, asking if I could get a passport, going to apply for the passport. The next thing I knew, me and I think our oldest was 12 at the time, 12 or 13. We are on a bus to go to Houston International Airport. And this is like before smartphones and all things. You say goodbye to your people at the church parking lot and then you're just off. Off for a week. There's no phone. Somebody was letting the church know we got there okay. But I remember going and we landed in Lima, Peru. And I'm like, whoa. Like, I'd never been anywhere. Like, you look in National Geographic and all the things like, or you see on the news, like a war-torn city. And it was devastating. People were intense. There's no running water, there's no electricity. There's no nothing. Food is scarce. Like, we get on this bus, we go 3.5 hours from this place. Everything's dark. We didn't even get off in what are the things called, the bridgeways or skyways or whatever. We got off just a little ladder. It's my first international trip. I'm thinking this is normal. I'm like, we're just out here in this parking lot, like
getting out of the plane,
going out to another thing, right? And then getting checked, right? Get your bags checked. And then getting on this bus. We didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know to be afraid. I didn't know to be excited. I was just like, I said yes. Right? Like I just said yes. And we get there and it's people are intense and people are intense. And there are these dogs and there's a bunch of dirt and people are sleeping on doors, broken doors. We were fortunate enough to stay at the pastor's house because I think the little pastor guy that I said yes to is like making sure me and my son were okay. Like, she can't go just stay with the other adult people because of the kid. And we're on these mats on the floor and the pastor's house had some electricity. And then it was like you couldn't drink the water and can't flush the toilet. They were like all these rules. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? The water is cold. There's no hot. Like, that's not an option. Like hot water, that's not an option. And it's like a quick, like, get wet, get out. Soap off, get back in, but not every day though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not every day.
Not every day though. And then you just trusted somebody was going to feed you. You just ate what was in front of you. There wasn't like this, oh, I'm sorry, could I have that well done, or could I have that medium, or whatever. It was just thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I like my eggs over easy, right? And there are roosters and chickens on the roof, but dogs on the roof. And beyond, it's just a whole different world. And what I'm getting at is like, here I am in the middle of this thing, and there came this point. There was just this one more. I was undone to begin with, and I remember the first lady that I had. It was her front tooth, you guys. Her front, like I'm talking about, very front tooth, and she's crying, wanting me, and I'm shaking like a leaf on a tree, literally, like. The needle is like coming at you, and she's just grinning with her mouth wide open.
She's so happy.
And I had to stop, and the lady who was interpreting for me was like, pull me to the side. Miss Florence, God bless her. She is with Jesus now. And Florence said, God brought you here for a reason. Like, I mean, just kind of almost like, hey,
Get it together.
get it together, girl.
Yeah.
Get it together. Act professional. And I'm like, just Florence. Crying.
Yeah.
There's dirt everywhere, flies. There's no suction. Like, I mean, they're spitting in a bucket, and I'm supposed to numb her up. Yeah. So she's like, you got to get this together. She prays over me. I don't know. Something felt different about that. It was the first time I had somebody just kind of go for it with a prayer. And then I numb this lady up. I pull her front tooth. I am over cleaning up a tray and just crying because this is the first one.
Bless her.
And when I turn around, I get myself together. I'll never forget her face. She's like smiling with gauze all packed in her mouth. And she hugs me and says, thank you. And I go on about the day, and then they feed us, and they're so joyful, and they're so glad we're here, and all this stuff. And there's just destruction everywhere. And I go up on this rooftop, and I'm like, hey, God, like, I mean, I know that you are real, but like, what in the whole wide world? Like, I was starting to have regret, fear. I'm over my head. There's this doctor talking to me like I'm some dentist. Like, I mean, just think crazy stuff, crazy conversation, crazy things happening. And I was crying, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, okay, I'm sober. I'm glad to be sober. I'm supposed to be a service to the next person. I'm supposed to say yes when opportunities come, unless I have a really good reason not to. And God just seemed to be opening all these doors. And what I'm getting at is the encounter for me was that on a rooftop, bawling my eyes out, giving God all the reasons why I shouldn't and why he is wrong. And there came this place where I broke. I wept. I wept on that rooftop. I wept, and I felt the presence of the Lord like I have never encountered before. And all the brokenness, dreams from like childhood of wanting to be a pastor or to preach like Paul, and just like all these things. It was all just kind of undone on this thatch rooftop. And Chincha, Peru, looking out, and he was like, hey, like, forget all the other stuff. This is what I created you for. And it was like my heart, my head, and my body were all experiencing the same feeling at the same time. And amidst all this rubble, chaos, these people were scrounging. I mean, they'd lost it all, man. But they were praising God, and they were hugging us, and they were giving. They didn't have a table to eat on, but they were making sure we had a plate and food, right? And in that place truly is where I felt like I encountered the love of God in such a way that it literally has changed the way I see, the way I go about my day, and like a little glimpse of heaven, like, right? And then it was like from that glimpse, there's just been a hunger for the more of God from that moment on a thatched roof, quiet, nobody around. Wasn't some fancy something or some mountaintop, like I mean, a little thatch roof in Chincha, Peru, right? And those people, we did that, and I can't. From that encounter, there's been so many others, but like after that encounter, and my husband goes and has an encounter, or goes, and because I'm like, you got to go, and we get back home. Here's where I'm going with that. We get back home.
Yes.
I get back home, and I'm looking at my husband. We've got like the American dream going on. And I'm like, we got to sell everything. We can't live like this. I can't stay in this house anymore. We got to do something different with the kids. We're missing it. We're missing it. And poor thing, he hadn't gone. He hadn't seen. I'm like, wait. This is back when you had to still get your film developed. You know what I mean? I'm like, we got to pay for the extra to get them back fast because you got to see what I saw. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
okay, people are going, whoa. Yeah, man, you just have to get
1
your film
hour
developed.
photo.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, can we get double, triple prints? And I need them expediently. Like, let's go, right? But I'm like, serious, like, hey, you probably remember me coming home for that.
Yes,
Like,
I
but
do.
I mean, it was like, it was so different. Like, I was undone. I couldn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
The encounter was so real. Like, it was such a thing that it was just like, I got to get up and go.
That's right.
And where am I going? But then I started seeing how I saw patients different. And then
Yeah.
what kind of mom am I?
Yeah.
Am I seeing my kids or am I ordering them around?
Yeah.
Am I sitting with them and reading a story or am I making the story up while they flip pages? Okay, let's just tell some truth because it's 4 and I'm
Yes.
tired, right? I'm like, and the princess lived happily ever after.
Good night.
Okay, that was the end of that one, right? No, we're only
job.
on page 2. Nope, that's what it said. Good night. Good night, right? So I'm just saying, like, am I hurrying through life,
Yeah.
getting by on the margins?
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to survive. I'm in survival mode.
Yep.
Or have you had an encounter that changed your life and literally set your soul to dancing?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like this whole new perspective and way of life that I just, I mean, I could have never dreamed or imagined. And then from that, like our passports, like, I mean, fast forward, I mean, we won't go through encounters and talk with different people and all things, but like all the encounters that have happened, but it was that first one that set my soul to dancing in such a way that I hungered for the more of God. And God had my attention like he never had before. It wasn't just up here anymore. It was in my heart. Like, it wasn't head knowledge. It was
That's
like
right.
etched
Yeah.
in my heart. And then it's like, hey, Jesus, could you stir that up again? Are you sure it's etched on the days that I'm falling short or I'm believing the lies in my head? Oh, I dropped the ball today, God. I can't stand. Let me tell you, right? And then it's like, oh, I remember that place.
Yeah.
That sweet, still, quiet. This is what I created you for. Like the encounter.
Yeah.
So have you had an encounter that literally set your soul to dance? Because if not, then I would challenge you to ask God, where's it at?
Yeah.
That's right.
And then hunger for it.
And
Like
then what-
ask.
Yeah, like it may, you know what I mean? It may be a minute.
Yeah.
It may be a minute.
Because I didn't even know that's what he had in store. Like, I think back to that. I'm like, how did I end up on that trip to begin with? If I wasn't seeking, like, I'm going to go on a mission trip. I'm going to go Chicha Peru, right?
And this is what's going to happen and
Yeah.
what we're going to
This is
do.
how it's
Come
gonna-
on.
yeah.
And we're going to come home and it'll be great.
Ah, yeah. And then from that, like, all the things that have happened since then, we don't have enough time. We'd have to unpack encounters for a minute, which is okay because God's not in a hurry about it. But I just think of that and I think, hey, from that very first encounter, like, thank you, Dr. Alston. Thank you. Like, there's so many people who their thing, they're part of that, set it up not only for my generations, right? And like my husband, and then I think of all of our kids, and then like people I've told the stories to or have shared, and they went and had their own encounters. And then like Suze, you're sitting here like, you're crazy enough to get on a plane and go, I'm gonna go change a bird, right?
I
Like,
know. Not at first, but then I got there.
yeah, right?
Did not say yes before you asked. I was
Yeah.
like,
Uh-huh,
okay, crazy.
Yeah, man. But it's like then when he asked, like, so to have the encounter, I think, like, I didn't even know he was asking. I mean, I knew something was going on. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going. But it was really because of all the no's, right? I was like, I told this guy would do a dental team.
Yeah.
And then the guy at the end goes, you're the dental team.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
instead of saying, "Oh heck, no, I'm so sorry," for some reason,
Oh man, I know. It's like an encounter happens. It's really not a shot in the dark thing. It's such a kind of a process of all these other people who come. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
man.
God set up an encounter for you that involves so many other people, and you don't even know all of them.
I don't even
you
know
know,
all
you
of
never will know all of them.
Uh-uh.
But like, and us too. Like, you played a part in my encounter. You played a part in my encounter. Like, people. I mean, a whole bunch of people played a part in my encounter that I will never know. And I also am playing a part in setting up someone's encounter.
Right.
And I may or may not ever meet them, but like
For
on
sure.
a daily basis, like my living is either in line with setting something like that up,
Uh-huh.
or it's I don't want to say out of line, but it's not a part of it. You know, and then like I would love to just live where every day it's like I'm in line for helping someone else have this life-changing thing. And it's I was, when you were talking, I was thinking about like being a teacher, and I was thinking about how when I had my real like weeping moment, you know, and how that changed my life, and how like on a daily basis I go into the world knowing like I'm the hands and feet.
Okay.
And you know
Yes.
what? I'm a teacher. And so some days we're going to talk about this and we're going to talk about that. And some days me being the hands and feet looks like just asking the student, hey, what's really going on with you today? And listening to their story, listening and just being present for them. Like that's not a part of my job on the contract, but it's part of my job on the contract.
I got
you know what I'm
you.
saying? So
That's right.
in the commission. So like that kind of stuff is a result of having my weeping moment, having my encounter. And so it happens all these places. It happens in other countries. It happens in this room. It happens in my classroom. It happens in the grocery store. It happens all over the place. I'm playing a part in this big song that's going on.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the way that it has always happened is it's not planned at all. You don't even have an idea.
Nah.
And then something happens. And the one thing that I found was listening, just listening is bigger. And I get more out of that than me over here thinking in my head, thinking about this, thinking about that, and finding out of someone else's encounter, finding out my own of, oh, that's another way I need to be looking at this. This is totally different. Thank you, Jesus, because I get to see this different. And, you know, when I had my encounter and it was with the Catholic teens, we were in Austin, and most of the Austin kids that we were with lived on the street. Like they just came to church because the doors open.
Yeah, man.
And so we are sitting there and we are praying over others, and then they pray over all of us. And I'm in the spirit laying there with kids living from there, knowing they didn't care what time it was. They didn't care where we were at, what we were doing, except what we were doing at that very moment. None of them were thinking of taking something from you.
Right.
You know, doing those kind of things and showing them that there is a life outside of what they've got, to be open with that. And I was never the type of person to step back and let me watch and let me see this happening. And I would miss so many things,
Right.
and, you know, and the worldly things today can keep us away from seeing what he shows us every day.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I just will never forget of the peace that there is laying in there, knowing that I don't have all the answers, nor will I ever have all the answers. and that he wants me to trust him and share these things with the other women.
For sure. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Like, like just as we are, right? As broken
Just as
we are, we owe the world an encounter.
That's
Not
right.
with me.
Nah.
Not with me.
No, with Jesus.
But with Jesus.
Jesus.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so, we all say it a lot. Like, so we'll just throw this out there, but I say a lot to them, like, we get to, like, that's the perspective shift. Like, oh, I get to.
Yeah.
I get to be his
Girl.
hands and feet
Girl.
in
should
every
be
area of my
dead.
life. So,
Yeah.
am I being that as a mom? Am I
Yeah.
being that as a friend?
Yeah.
Am I being that to the lady in HEB who is holding up the line?
She's in the 10 or the 15, and she really got about 30 in there.
Okay, because we counted.
I
I
I'm
did.
sorry,
Some-
testify. Yeah,
I got
okay.
some
And it
HEB
does
ladies
not
in my
mean
head.
one.
Oh.
And it doesn't mean one package of cheese, but 5. So you
Okay.
count that separately, not one.
Ooh. Stephanie has been there. Testify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Count it
So,
for them, Stephanie.
exactly.
Count it for them.
Exactly.
Out of here.
Yes.
Out of here.
It's like the people in the Starbucks. I just will run over on time. The Starbucks says, Starbucks, you've been in line for a minute. Do not wait till you get to the counter to go,
I forgot to tell you.
I know, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, know your order. You've been in line for 10 minutes. Know your order. Or get the app. Anyway, but
Get the app.
like,
I know
so
what you're about to
to
say.
that person, like, well, I have learned that a time or two. Like, that's the person. Like, the person
Oh my gosh,
that's
you know
grinding your gears.
That's it.
Or the
it.
person in a room that you're like, what? Okay. My husband says, if you see it, it's because God wants you to do something about it. Or you're the person to usher in the encounter. Like,
Yes.
oh,
You spot it, you
shoot,
got it.
spot it, you got. That's right. She's heard him say it. You spot it.
You
Shoot.
spot it, you got
And then he's like, oh, but we get to. Like,
Ooh,
you
I'm
get
thinking
to go
about
be the
something
hands
right now.
and feet, right? Yeah. So it's the encounter. So it's like this thing, like coming in here and coming all the way to the feet of Jesus, hungering for an encounter. Like in the book, we go through this thing and on the retreat, and we'll mention it in a minute, of how you can get plugged in the retreat. But like, there's this place where there's this woman, you can look her up in scripture, but what she does to have an encounter at the feet of Jesus totally goes against everything that the world would tell her she's allowed to do.
Yeah.
And then now, in the times in the world that we live in, just like the simple yeses that we've done as teachers, as spouses, as friends, as whatever, and it's simple yes all the way to, like, for me, because I'm hard-headed and going to learn, you had to take me away from all the distractions, literally, and put me on top of a thatch roof in Chincha, Peru, to go, girl, this is the thing, this is it. But then from there, when I got back, what did I do with that? Like, one thing to have a great little high moment, oh, thank you, Lord. But another to come and actually, what we're saying, that
Pursue
we get
it.
to, and to
Mhm.
pursue the more of him in that.
Yes.
That's where the encounters are like never ending, and I get to have
Yeah.
another and another and another, and God will fill me and give me the opportunities to the amount of hunger that I have. Like I heard a pastor say that one time, and I was like, I don't understand that. And I was like, no, I do. He comes to the hunger in a room. So do I live expecting an encounter, or to be the hands and feet for someone else to encounter? And so
Yeah.
I think that's why we're here,
Yeah.
Yes.
because we want everybody to, because when every woman of the world literally encounters that, it changes you. Like I'm talking about, it's a heart, soul, it's a thing. It's not just, oh, for a minute in my mind, I thought this, but when it changes you and God becomes the thing that's the thing, the center of your life, like the center of your universe, your why for everything that you do. I think when that happens, the world looks different. We mom different. We sisterhood each other different. We
Yes.
cheer on each other's desires, passions, and
Yeah.
dreams.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like,
Yes.
like us in the whole, we're going to do a retreat.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we'll just put our own money in it. We can do it, right? Because God said, well,
Mhm.
why did he give us this picture? I don't know. We're going to go
We're gonna go do
hash
it.
this out,
Yep.
right? So we're doing
See
it
what
again.
happens.
Yes.
November 3rd through
Through
the
the
5th, 2023.
2023.
And it is truly our desire for you to encounter the love of God in such a way that it changes who you are and your identity from the inside out and then some, and you are shook to this place that you go home from the retreat hungry for the more of God and living it out in community. Like Sue said, it's made her a better teacher, a different teacher. It changes your perspective, that you walk in heaven's perspective.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Life is about more than just paying bills and dying.
Okay.
That's right.
I mean, how, like,
That would be kind of dull, wouldn't it?
okay. But how many people are doing it? You know, and
How
I'm not
many
trying to,
do
I'm not
they
trying to
get
be all
caught
weird
up?
about it, but there is a world and a life that is available. Now,
For sure.
you got to pay your price, which is, usually you got to have your weeping moment.
Yeah.
You got to have your weeping moment. You got to have your surrender moment. But like, when you do, and you start seeking the more of him,
More him.
man, your whole life changes. And it really is, kingdom living here on earth. And I wish that there was a way I could just accurately describe this adventure train thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, it is freaking wild. Like,
Adventure.
I don't mean wild, like sometimes, sometimes it's international flight wild, okay?
Okay.
But sometimes it's just crying on the way home from work because you're
That's right.
so grateful.
Yes.
Yes.
And that sounds dumb. Maybe to some people it sounds dumb, but like when you should be dead, it's not, or when a lot of people, I don't want a life where I wake up and I'm not just totally floored by something simple like having a bed. And I'm not, I'm just kind of moseying around. I do have
Yes.
mosey around days, and I have those days where I forget the wonder of my
Mhm.
existence and all that stuff. 'Cause I'm a human being, and I mean, yeah.
But it's really not about you. Is what
But
you're
it's
saying.
really not about me.
Really
And
not
And
about
the
you.
expectation's not there. I mean, like, how many times do
No.
you expect to have something done?
Right.
Oh, it's not done yet.
Right.
Wait.
Right.
I am doing it. I'm the one that's gonna participate. I'm the one that's gonna show up and be
Yeah.
that woman that I didn't know I could be.
Okay.
Bananas.
It is.
It'll turn your world upside down, sideways, and then some.
Mm-hmm. In a good way.
In the best way
in
possible.
the best way possible. Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to wrap up and kind of land the bird for this episode on Encounter. There are so many more stories and conversations we are going to have about encounters and encountering the love of God and how it changed us, and encounters that we got to be a part of for someone else, and the things that we have seen God move and do through them. There
Mhm.
are so many. It's like the next one's like story time with
Story
the
time.
tribe, because there are so many stories.
Yeah.
And
There are.
and we I don't know, I think through the storytelling, it's kind of like the word testimony means do it again. So I think through the storytelling of the encounters, big and small and in between everything else, we leave all that to God. But in the middle of that, there's someone listening. There's a lady listening who goes,
Mhm.
I want that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want an encounter like that, God.
Yeah.
Could you use me that way?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yes,
I didn't
girl.
know other people felt the same way as I did. I am not
Exactly.
the only one in the world by
no,
myself.
there's a
handling this.
whole village for you.
We all feel it.
Exactly. So if we could just invite you into like the next conversation with us, where we're going to talk more about this and how, yes, girl, he wants
Mhm.
to set you up for an encounter, and he's knocking on the door of your heart. And I am praying that you have an encounter between now and then that
Mhm.
totally wrecks you and turns you upside down in such a way that all you can do is look up and go, what do I do now?
Mhm.
Because that's what it did for me. It shook me to a way that life didn't make sense anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the only thing it could be was God, but God, right?
But
In the
God.
middle of my whole American dream life, which I was blessed to have, and I'm not knocking, but God. And he turned it around and spun it in such a way that it is on earth as it is in heaven. And like there's this heavenly wonder about it all every day.
Mhm.
Now, I fall short sometimes of
Oh,
the
yeah,
wonder
yeah,
every
yeah,
day.
yeah, it's gonna happen.
But the majority is that way. It's a heart change. It's a heart cry. And I desire that. Suze desires that. Stephanie desires that for you. And so I want us to take a minute and invite you into our world. So Suze is going to kind of break down all the opportunities of the ways that you could come and join us
Yes.
on what we're
join.
calling the adventure train.
The adventure train, honey. It's gonna be beautiful. It's amazing. So you can join our Facebook group on Facebook, and it's called it's
Okay.
Unchained Unpolished. So you just search that up and then hit the request and come be a part of the party. You can also follow us on social media. So we're at He Sees You Ministry on Instagram, and same thing for Facebook. We also have a website, which is
Get excited. It's official.
It's official, honey. It is
Official.
amazing. Yeah, so heseesyou.org is the website. And on the website, you can find all the information for the next retreat. It's going to be in Whitney. You can register.
When is the retreat?
Online. The retreat is November 3rd through 5th, 2023. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be beautiful, amazing.
Great,
you name it.
wonderful, all of those synonyms.
It's a weekend of encounter.
It's a weekend of encounter. So if you're one of those ladies who's like, hey man, I'm really I'm having a pigsty moment. I'm having a weeping moment.
You think you're not good enough?
You think you're not good enough, honey.
Bring all
Chains.
your baggage
Bring
with you.
it.
Bring it, girl.
Bring it. And
Nothing fancy. Just
yeah.
bring it.
Yeah, and so if that sounds like something you're interested in and you are looking for an encounter, hey, we want to have you. So go to heseesyou.org and check out all the information about the retreat and register, and we'll see you in November.
We would love to see you there.
Yeah. Yes, girl.
Okay.
Yes, girl.
See you next time. Next episode, we are diving into even more encounters. We're each going to bring at least one. Right? At least one story. And we are hoping that you will jump in and remember that God loves you. He sees you. You're his favorite and he delights in you.
Mm-hmm.
And we love you all so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.